The Utah eviction notice. What is an eviction notice? Eviction notice, or notice to quit, is a letter sent by the landlord to the tenant notifying them that they should either take or stop a certain action or vacate the rented premises. Eviction notice can be of two types: conditional, when a tenant is given time to remedy the breach of the lease, or unconditional, when a landlord terminates the lease without any alternative options for a tenant. What should an eviction notice include? Information about the tenant and the landlord. The reason for sending the notice. The date by which the tenant should take or stop a certain action. The consequences of non-compliance. The date and way of notice delivery, and the landlord's signature in the form of certificate of service attached to the notice. How to evict a tenant in Utah. Non-payment notice. The landlord in Utah should send a 3-day notice to tenants who fail to pay rent on time. If the tenant fails to pay rent within 3 days, the landlord can start an eviction process. Non-compliance notice. When it comes to other violations of the lease, a 3-day notice to remedy the breach or quit should be sent to the tenant. The Utah law allows the landlord to give a 3-day notice to quit to the tenant who subleases the property if it's prohibited by the contract, commits waste, or takes illegal actions. What if the tenant fails to comply? If the tenant fails to comply with the results of the lease, the landlord has two options on what to do next. They can file the complaint with the Utah court and then serve the tenant with the summons and complaint within 120 days after it was filed with the court. Or they can first send a complaint to the tenant, and after that file the paperwork with the court within 10 days after the complaint was served on the tenant. A person serving the complaint might be anyone over 18 who is not a part of the hearing. The court filing fee will depend on the amount of damage caused by the tenant or past due rent, and usually ranges from $90 to $375. The tenant should file their answer with the court prior to hearing within 3 days. The tenant's failure to file a response with the court might result in a judgment in favor of the landlord by default. If the landlord wins the case, the tenant will have to move out according to the order of restitution issued by the court. The Utah law gives the tenant 3 days after the document is delivered to the rental unit to move out before they are forcibly removed. However, in case of illegal activity committed by the tenant, they might be removed immediately.